Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Gonna be getting back to work on the MR2 in this video. When we left off in the last one, I was having some major issues with fuel leaks. So I kind of got looking at things. The return line was leaking, and I realized that I damaged the regulator fitting when I was trying to tighten it down, and that is what was causing that leak. Unfortunately, that is the one fitting on the regulator that is not replaceable. It's part of the housing. Fortunately, Radium, who makes the fuel pressure regulator, does sell just a blank housing. So I did go ahead, I ordered a new housing as well as a new return line because I think I damaged the inside of the return line from the fitting being damaged on the housing. So those parts are on order. Hopefully I will have them in the next few days. And then I'm hoping I will be able to get the fuel leaks resolved once and for all. So that being said, I think what I'm going to do next is pull out the dash and get the tachometer out so I can go ahead and go through the soldering and replacing of resistors and capacitors so I can go ahead and get that thing reading appropriately. All right, so first thing I'm going to have to do is remove the gauge housing / upper portion of the surround. I'm actually removing that Innovate gauge anyway. That was the dual oil temp and oil pressure gauge, and I used to have a boost controller on the other side. Since I no longer need the boost controller, I'm going to get rid of that gauge, and then I have a matching pair of Tachometer oil temp and oil pressure gauges to go in those two housings. So I'm going to go get the wiring unclipped, cut, whatever I need to do, get that out of the way, and then I can start pulling the surround out from the dash instrument cluster. All right, got the surround out as well as the top piece. So I'm just gonna get the last couple screws out that are holding the cluster in and get this thing pulled out. I think I do have a little bit of custom wiring back there for the boost gauge that's installed that I'll have to get out as well. So get this taken out so we can go ahead and get the tach removed. All right, cluster is out. Thankfully I was smart, couldn't remember if I had, but yeah, I just had used actually a trailer connector to wire in the boost gauge, so made it pretty easy to remove. And then the one wire that's hanging down, this is a power wire that I had tied in as well that I was using for the other two gauges. So that were in the steering column. But anyway, cluster's out. I'm going to go ahead and get the thing disassembled, and I can go ahead and remove the tach and start making the adjustments to the board. All right, down in my basement, because it's pretty freaking cold out in the garage, you can see I got the glass or the plastic cover as well as the blackout cover off. So pretty easy to do. There's just, the tabs, you have to push them in with the screwdriver and just carefully work both pieces off. So next I'm going to remove these screws for the tachometer that are in the back of the cluster. So these ones right there, so just need to remove those and I should be able to pull it right out. Alright, and you can see it's out. Here it is. Easy peasy, like I said, just 3 screws. You can see the one still sticking through because that's the one that I have that power cable hooked up to. And then the other 2 that go through into the back of this board and hold it into place. So next thing is going to be to remove the 2 old capacitors, and then I'll put the new ones in and then add in the resistors as required, and we'll go from there. Alright, so the first things I'm going to do are remove the old capacitors, and it is these 2 right there, and then these 2 right here. So I'm going to go ahead and get the soldering iron, get those warmed up, and get them removed. Alright, and here we are. New capacitors are installed, soldered in. Just need to snip off the ends. You just kind of need to bend them a little bit to fish them through the holes from the back side, but it is definitely doable while everything is attached. So I'm going to get those snipped off, and then it will be to putting in the 2 new resistors. Alright, here's the finished project. Both of the resistors have been installed on the back side of the board per the instructions. This was an NA tach, so I used the correct resistors that came in the kit. So there you go. You've got 2 resistors added and then the 2 capacitors replaced. So tach is ready to go back in the car. All right, and here we are. Everything is put back together and good to go. So I'm gonna go get this installed back in the car. All right, here I am in the car. What I've been doing is taking a little bit of time trying to clean the dash up. You can see it's a lot shinier now. This thing was covered in dust from hanging around a body shop for a year and a half. Like I said previously, I believe, I got a really good deal on the paint because I was going to do all the R&Is and clean up myself. So this thing was full of dust. You can kind of see the difference in the dash there where I stopped and how just coated in dust it is. So wanted to clean all the crevices out here and whatnot. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the instrument cluster back in. I'm not gonna put any of the other trim in yet because I need to test to make sure everything works. Unfortunately, I'm waiting on fuel system parts due to the regulator issue and the one line before I can run the car again. So once those come in, I'll be able to do the final test and make sure the tach works with everything I did to it. So for now, I'll just get it hooked up, and then it's only one screw that goes right here. That's the only one that is specifically for the cluster. All the other ones are integrated with other pieces of the trim that go around it. So I'll get the cluster in, I'll put that one screw in, and then we'll be waiting until the fuel system parts come in before I can actually fire it up and test it out. All right, and there we go. Reinstalled, one screw in place in the one spot that requires it. So that's as far as I'm gonna go with this. I'm gonna go ahead and finish cleaning up this dash and stuff a little bit, just try and get some of this dressing on it, just to try and bring some shine back and whatnot. I know I'll have to do a final detail once all's back together, but I want to try and get some of the luster brought back to these plastics. So that's what I'm gonna work on right now. Next on the list, once I'm finished in here, is probably going to be working on the axles and getting those installed, since, like I said, I'm waiting on the brake parts before I can get back to fuel line parts before I can get back to finishing up the engine stuff. All right, so as I said, next thing I think I'm going to tackle is working on getting axles installed. I'm not going to tighten up I'll probably put like the bolts through the control arms and just get the suspension in place, but I'll tighten it later once I make sure everything's sorted out and can get it, put a jack under everything so I can get it at ride height. But anyway, so, these are the TCS axles. I already showed you the stub shafts that I got from them for both sides. I bought the complete kit. So you get, the stub shafts, and then you get each axle. It's pretty much all assembled. You do have to lube the inner side, which you do get a tube of lube for it, grease. They give you 2 gaskets. They give you the bolts. They do not give you the collars or lock rings, whatever you want to call them. So those are my old ones. I will have to clean those up. So I'm going to go ahead and get those cleaned up, cut the zip ties that are holding the inner together, get things greased up, and then I can go ahead and get this axle installed. All right, and here we are. Passenger side's installed. So my little tips or pointers, what I did, I got everything greased up as far as the joint goes, worked it in. The cork gasket, they give you 2. I only used 1 because that's all that's really needed. There's no sticky adhesive or anything on it, but if there's a little bit of grease on the edge, it's enough to kind of hold it in place. Just lined it up between the bolt heads, pulled the hub away, got the axle spline put into this end first, and then pulled the hub away and was able to get that seated, lined up the bolt holes just by sight, and then slowly started putting in the bolts with the clips that go on them. One thing I will say is don't tighten that one down until they're all in, so leave them pretty loose. Basically just get them started and then work your way around. And then what I did was just slowly worked my way around and tightened them a little bit at a time just to try and evenly seat everything. It will help to have a swivel. I have a swivel here along with the Allen key socket. And then, I just worked everything down, and then I did a final torque of 65 Newton meters per the green book. So this side is in. One other thing, if you have your suspension loose, it will help to put a bolt through the rear tie rod just to keep this, from moving back and forth when you're tightening things, because I was just using this breaker bar in between a couple of lugs and the bolt here, or the nut here. So using that, my knee on this side to kind of brace it, and then torquing with the torque wrench on the other side to get it tight. So that is one side down. I think I said it, but in case I didn't, I did use blue Loctite on all of the bolts as well. So passenger side is in. I'll tighten this bolt up later once I can get some torque on it, or be able to lock the brake caliper or the brake rotor from spinning. I have to kind of figure out what I want to do for that first. I'll probably just use a breaker bar in between these, just a longer bar, pry bar, and then I've got a heavy-duty snap-on torque wrench that I can get this to the 217, because this one gets 217 foot-pounds, so gotta get a lot of torque on this bad boy. But yeah, so that is as far as I'm gonna go on this side. I'm gonna go ahead and get the other side put together and installed next. All right, so when I took the axles out on the driver's side, I just took it out as one piece. I didn't disconnect it from the stub shaft. So I need to remove the bolts so I can go ahead and get the spacers, the 3 spacer washers that are needed. And then once I get that apart, I can go ahead, use those, clean them up, and start putting in the driver's side. So I'm gonna get to work on that right now. Well, Houston, we have a problem. So 6 bolts hold this together. Was able to successfully loosen 5 of them. Number 6 decided it wanted to round itself out on the inside, so I cannot get this thing loose. I tried heat. I've tried a couple different size Allen keys to see if there was enough difference or whatnot. Nope, won't come out. So have a little problem here that I need to find a workaround for to get that bolt out. I may just see if I can order 3 of those new retainer clip things, the spacer washers. I'm not even sure if they're available. I'll have to look and see. May do that. I'm probably gonna have to buy just a cheap socket that fits this, weld it to it, and then loosen it that way, because I do at least want to get these apart, because I figured I'd sell these axles. So that is where I'm at right now. So that being said, I think this video has gone on long enough. Probably gonna end it here. I know, again, closing out with some failures. Good news is the parts for the fuel system are on their way, so that should hopefully, knock on wood, be resolved in the next video. I should hopefully have the fuel system back together and no more leaks. And hopefully in the meantime, I'll figure out what I want to do to go ahead and get this bolt out, or get the new clips or what are the new spacers, so I can get this axle in and knock these axles off the list. So that being said, gonna call it a video. Hope you're learning something, enjoying what you're seeing. If you are, please hit like, please hit subscribe, please hit the notification bell. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.